When I learned my wife's baby wasn't mine, I vanished. Years later, she tracked me down. I stared at the email on my phone until the words blurred into meaningless shapes. Paternity probability, 0%. The DNA test I had ordered in secret, swabbed from my newborn son's cheek while he slept, confirmed what my gut had been screaming for months. Ethan wasn't mine. The sterile hospital smell from his birth a week earlier still clung to my clothes. I remembered holding him in the delivery room, tears of joy streaming down my face as Sarah squeezed my hand and whispered, "Our family is complete." She had glowed with exhaustion and triumph, her dark hair matted against her forehead. I had believed every second of it. Now that memory curdled into poison. Sarah and I had built what I thought was an unbreakable life. We met in our final year of college during a group project that turned into late-night coffee runs and stolen kisses on campus benches. She was fiery and creative, a marketing major with big dreams. I was steady and analytical, already interning at a finance firm. We married at 24 in a small backyard ceremony, promising forever under strings of fairy lights. The years that followed felt golden. We bought a modest house in suburban Chicago, planted a garden together, and filled weekends with laughter and plans. When she told me she was pregnant after years of trying, I dropped to my knees and cried. I painted the nursery pale blue, read every parenting book I could find, and imagined teaching our child to ride a bike and throw a perfect spiral. But cracks had appeared. The late nights at her marketing agency, the way her phone buzzed constantly with messages from Mark, my old college buddy who had become her close colleague, the sudden emotional distance during the pregnancy, which she blamed on hormones. I ignored the warnings because I loved her too much to question the foundation we stood on. Love had made me a fool. That night, while Sarah slept in the next room with Ethan in his bassinet, I sat at the kitchen table and let the grief consume me. Tears came hot and silent. The betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was the lie that had let me fall in love with a child who carried another man's blood. I pictured Mark's smug face, the way he had clapped me on the back at the baby shower, congratulating the proud dad. Rage replaced the sorrow, sharp and clarifying. I wouldn't confront her. A screaming match, lawyers, custody battles over a boy who wasn't mine. The thought exhausted me. Staying would chain me to deception, so I chose disappearance. I packed lightly. Clothes, laptop, birth certificate, and the small amount of cash I could gather without raising alarms. I transferred exactly half our savings, $45,000, into a new account I had opened that afternoon. On the counter, I left my wedding ring and a single note. I know the truth about the baby. Don't look for me. Build the life you chose. No signature. No explanation. I kissed Ethan's forehead one last time, my heart fracturing, then walked out into the cold Chicago night. I drove west without stopping, the highway lights streaking past like accusations. In a motel outside St. Louis, I finally broke. I punched the thin mattress until my knuckles bled, sobbing until my throat was raw. The pain was physical, a hollow ache in my chest that made breathing difficult. How had I missed it? Had every "I love you" been tainted? The questions circled like vultures. But self-pity wouldn't save me. By the time I reached Denver, I had a plan. I rented a cheap studio under my middle name, Alex Thompson, and took a grinding data entry job. Every spare hour went into learning. I devoured online courses on coding, business strategy, and startups. The anger became rocket fuel when investors rejected my first app idea, a simple expense tracker for freelancers. I refined it until it wasn't just functional but elegant. I launched it on my own, sleeping 4 hours a night on a futon. The breakthrough came in year 3. A small venture firm took a chance after seeing early user growth. Vanguard Solutions was born. We pivoted to AI-powered financial tools tailored for independent contractors. Contracts rolled in. The company moved to San Francisco. My net worth crossed 7 figures, then 8. I bought a hillside home with walls of glass overlooking the bay, hired a small but loyal team, and finally allowed myself to breathe. Healing wasn't linear. Some nights, memories of Sarah's laugh or Ethan's newborn scent pulled me under. I dated sporadically but kept walls high until Elena. She was a sharp corporate attorney who reviewed our expansion contracts. Her honesty disarmed me. Our first date stretched into morning as we walked the foggy Embarcadero, sharing stories without filters. When I finally told her everything, the DNA results, the vanishing, the years of rebuilding. She didn't offer pity. She offered partnership. You didn't run away, she said. You ran toward who you were meant to become. We married quietly by the ocean. 2 years later, our daughter Lily arrived. Her tiny hand wrapping around my finger with a grip that felt like redemption. I kept my past buried. Low social media presence, changed phone number, no Chicago connections. The man Sarah once knew had ceased to exist. 8 years after I disappeared, my assistant's voice crackled over the intercom. A Sarah Reynolds is here. She says it's urgent and personal. The name hit like a punch. Reynolds, her maiden name. I almost refused, but something deeper than curiosity stirred. Closure, perhaps. Or the final echo of old wounds. Send her in. She stepped into my sunlit corner office looking like a faded photograph of the woman I once loved. Her chestnut hair, once glossy and long, was pulled into a practical ponytail threaded with silver. The stylish clothes were gone, replaced by worn jeans and a simple sweater. Her eyes, still striking, carried shadows of exhaustion and regret. David, she said, voice trembling. She hadn't used my new name. It took me years. Private investigators, old tax records, everything I had. I spent what little I had left finding you. I gestured to the leather chair across from my desk but stayed standing, arms crossed. The Bay Bridge glittered behind me like a symbol of distance. Sarah, what brings you here after all this time? She pulled a photo from her bag and slid it across the polished wood. Ethan, now 8, smiled up at the camera with Mark's dark curls and easy grin. My chest tightened despite myself. He's struggling, she said, tears already welling. School is hard. He needs tutoring, maybe counseling. Mark left us when Ethan was 2. He couldn't handle fatherhood. Drank heavily, racked up debts, then vanished. I'm waitressing double shifts, but the rent's overdue and eviction notices are piling up. I know I have no right to ask, but Ethan needs stability. He deserves a father figure. Even if it's from afar. The words landed softly at first, then sank in with their full weight. Pity for the boy, warred with the old betrayal. He's not my son, Sarah. She froze. What? I ran a DNA test a week after he was born. 0%. I knew before I left Chicago. The color drained from her face. She clutched the edge of the desk as if the room had tilted. You knew the whole time? And you just disappeared? I thought you left because of the stress, because I was distant after the birth. I blamed myself for years. I searched for you thinking if I could apologize, explain. Explain what? My voice stayed calm but emotion thickened it. That you were sleeping with Mark while I was painting the nursery? That you let me believe I was going to be a father? I found the hotel receipts later. The messages. It wasn't one mistake. It was months. Fresh tears spilled. She didn't deny it. It started when we were fighting about fertility treatments. Mark listened. Then it became more. When the pregnancy test was positive, I panicked. The dates were close enough that I convinced myself it was yours. I was terrified of losing you, of being alone. I was wrong. So wrong. I'm sorry, David. God, I'm so sorry. The apology hung between us, raw and years too late. Part of me, the man who had once adored her, wanted to reach across the desk and comfort her. The stronger part, forged in motel room breakdowns and all-night coding sessions, held firm. I loved you, I said quietly. I would have forgiven almost anything if you'd come to me honestly. Instead, you built our life on a lie. I vanished because staying would have killed the best parts of me. I drove across the country with $45,000 and a broken heart. I rebuilt from nothing. This company, this view, the family waiting for me at home. They exist because I refused to let your betrayal define me. She looked around the office, the awards on the shelves, the team moving purposefully beyond the glass walls, and something like a mixed with devastation crossed her face. You're successful. Happy. I came here desperate, hoping the old David was still here. The one who would help for old time's sake. But you've become someone I never deserved. I walked to the window, gazing at the city that had become my sanctuary. Emotions swirled. Lingering sadness for the life we lost, satisfaction at how far I'd come, and a surprising absence of hatred. I'll help Ethan. Not because he's mine, but because no child should suffer for adult mistakes. My lawyer will set up an anonymous education trust tomorrow. Enough for private school, college, therapy. It's more than Mark ever gave him. Hope flickered briefly in her eyes. And us? Could we talk more? Maybe. No. The word was gentle but final. I have a wife who chose honesty every day. A daughter who looks at me like I'm her hero. My revenge isn't destruction or public shame. It's this. I gestured to the life around us. While you struggled with the consequences of your choices, I built something real. You tracked me down hoping to find the broken man you left behind. Instead, you found someone who no longer needs your chapter to complete his story. Sarah stood slowly, shoulders curved under invisible weight. She picked up the photo of Ethan, fingers tracing his face. I never stopped regretting it. Even when things were good with Mark, I missed what we had. The steadiness. The love. I met her eyes one last time. Then carry that regret. Use it to be better for him. This is goodbye, Sarah. She nodded, tears falling freely now, and walked out without another word. After the door closed, I sat down and exhaled a breath I felt I'd been holding for 8 years. The pain that once defined me had transformed into quiet strength. Sarah's visit hadn't reopened old wounds. It had sealed them. My vanishing had been an act of self-preservation, but seeing her now revealed its deeper power. The purest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's refusing to let betrayal steal your future. That evening, I held Lily a little tighter as I read her a bedtime story. Elena watched us from the doorway, her smile soft and knowing. Later, over a glass of wine on the deck, I told her everything. She listened without judgment, then took my hand. You gave her grace she didn't earn, she said. I gave myself freedom, I replied. The city lights sparkled below us like stars brought down to earth. Somewhere out there, Sarah was driving home to a struggling boy and a life shaped by choices she could never undo. I wished her no harm, only the growth that pain sometimes forces. As for me, I had learned the hardest truth of all. The night I vanished wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of the man I was always meant to become. And in that truth I found peace.